I think we're live. I'm not 100% sure. Let me just give it a second to load on in. I always want to make sure before I start talking that the people have actually hopped on in. So if you can see this, just quickly let me know in the chat box where you're watching from. I'll ask one more time in just a second. It's just to confirm, because it always takes a few seconds for my side to load on in as well. All right, so from my side, it looks like I'm live, but I can't see anybody just quite yet. I see Haynes and 505 were in the chat already. Let's give it like 10 seconds to load on in. And we got some juice. Because let me tell you something. We're about to get so tired of winning. We're about to get so tired of winning. It's going to be awful. All right, and the part that's awful is obviously the part that we're, going to be tired. But the winning part, it's going to be nice. At least as far as things are looking right now, it is going to be delicious, astronomical. I don't even know the right words to put. Oh, boys, we got a full crowd in here today. All right, take a look at this. We got everybody in the chat right now. Take a look at that. We got how many people? We got 150 people in instantly. Guys, if you're watching the stream right now, make sure you press that like button. We got Cray from his mama's house. We got Antarctica. We got the funny people. We here chilling. Let's get pumpy. Let's get pumpy. That's what I feel, right? That's also what I'm feeling right now. Let's get pumpy. We got Texas. You rock to see you rock, Jason. All we do is win and buy. All right. We got the boys in here. We got Washington, Chip R. We millionaires, Tennessee, New Jersey. All right, Finland. Yeah, I realized since I'm, basically using the American time zones, people must be wondering where I am at, in the sense of sometimes I post at 11 p.m. now, American time, right? But that's like what, 7 a.m. in Europe, something like that, maybe 4 a.m. I have no idea, 5 a.m. So for all y'all, you might be confused as to what's going on right there, as usually I always post like afternoon to night Dubai time, but now it's a bit different. You're right. Right now it is 11:30. Yeah, in the night time. But regardless, we got a couple of cool things to show today, boys. Anyway, I want to get started by showing you guys something pretty interesting. And that is, do you guys remember this chart? This is the S&P. Do you remember the story I told you guys yesterday? 2 days ago, maybe. I said basically, with almost any one of our charts, the S&P, Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum, Solana, you name it, right? Dow Jones. Even if you buy the freaking top, if you consistently buy down lower, for example, if you got 100% of your funds and you bought in all in, which is basically 80% of all your funds at the top, and you just were buying your weight down lower, still over this time period, even if you went all in at the top, you would actually come out on top significantly. It just took a bit more time. But to be more realistic, most people don't all in at the Pico top. They all in a bit earlier than that. For example, we went crazy on XRP at $2.30 something, right? Remember? And everybody was looking at me saying, Dusty, that's too high, that's too high. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now, our trade is about our trade is $780,000 worth, and we're about $73,000 in the profit. And this was funny because it was minus $100,000 before. Right now, it's plus $74,000. To me, that is really, really cool. Why? Because it's not, okay, again, I don't want to sound ungrateful, but it is nothing for what it's about to be. So again, I told you guys, I'm going to take this one to a minimum of $200,000 in the plus. This is, again, to me, not enough to even look at, to even consider. There are a lot of posts over on Twitter that are stating, no, make sure you sell your coins because, it could also get worse. It could, shut up, get back to your cave. That's all I got to say to that one. All right. I mean, on the one hand, we've got Ethereum Foundation selling. That's bad. But Trump is pushing everything. And I explained yesterday why institutional interest also is at the highest point ever. And I explained in my earlier stream, if y'all were there, why blasting the top of a crypto chart of the S&P, of NASDAQ, from a risk-reward perspective is worth it. But I'll add, I am not a financial advisor. This live stream is purely for fun. I'm talking about my strategies, but you have to understand I'm just a random person on the internet. I'm not a financial advisor. Even though I could be, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. Don't take advice from strangers on the internet, kids. Even though 95% of my audience is 34 plus. So, nobody's kids here, but, you know, I'm just going to state it anyway. Generally speaking, from my perspective, I know what I'll be able to do. I know what I've done over the past couple of years, and I'm explaining my strategy to make tens of millions of dollars in 6 months. All right? It is happening. There's no question about it. This is what's going on. The thing is, it's quite hard to explain a lot of the things you're doing without people copying it the wrong way. To explain, for example, my bot strategy. I've explained to the best, oh, I'm stuck, I see it. To the best of depths how it works and why it almost always works. No guarantees made. Yet people go in the comment section and say, oh, well. I've explained literally why it's almost impossible to not work. And the same thing I've said for XRP longs, for example, for Ethereum longs that are, for example, only 3x leverage, hype longs, etc., etc. If the asset has a small probability of going to zero and a very high likelihood of going up over time, the only thing you have to think about is there something you can replace it with? So if you're wondering, Dusty, why don't you have a $45 million long open like Chris Crypto, for example, has on Bitcoin? Let me show you real quick. So for example, Chris here, let me quickly see. He has right now a $30 million Bitcoin long open. Dusty, why don't you do the same thing? Two things. One, you don't understand the unfathomable amount of money this guy has. That's one. All right, so $30 million, it's a lot of money to him, but it's more money to me in terms of a trade. All right, let me just quickly make that clear. There's levels to this game. All right, to me, $1 million trade is still something relatively really cool. I'm looking at that thinking, wow, right? Even though it's all relative in that sense. So that's one. Second of all, because you have to understand, whatever you put in one specific trade, you can't put into anything else. And I like to diversify over a ton of different things because you're just not 100% sure what is going to perform the best. Again, will most of my strategies do really, really well? I believe so. And again, it's shown over the past few years. But theoretically speaking, right, the best strategy the past couple of months would have been to just hoard only Bitcoin. Skip every single altcoin, skip everything, and just full long, full portfolio of Bitcoin, which in theory is always the case. But by the way, in January or so of early this of 2025, November of 2024, if you had only held Bitcoin, you would probably not be happy because almost every single altcoin outperformed. XRP went from 50 cents to $3.40, while Bitcoin did good, but not that good, right? And Solana, for example, also doubled in a snap. Over the past few months, Solana did some crazy numbers, but Bitcoin, for some reason, was really just picking up that dominance for a little bit more time than we had expected. I mean, just a few days ago, I told you guys I do believe Bitcoin's dominance is going to start falling here, but we've been faked out a couple of times. And that brings me to the next point. Every single time I look at the chat box and comment section, a lot of people are talking about the fact that, as it currently stands, we are seeing, or we are going to see, some sort of bull trap. I've seen people say bear trap. Not exactly sure what you mean with that, because we're not really down that much. I'd say perhaps a trap of sorts to trap the bulls in. But from my own personal perspective, it doesn't make that much sense. And again, if it does, even if it does, right? Think about it from this angle. Please, bear with me. Man to man right now, all right? Man to woman, I think mostly men watching, right? But man to man right now. If you could go back in time, any time for Bitcoin, if you had bought that price, doesn't matter which one, you pick a day, all right? Whatever day you were thinking of it, would you right now be up or down? The answer is you'd be up because it hit an all-time high. Now, historically speaking, every single time you could have gotten in, yeah, you either quickly went in profit, quickly went down because the price always moves. But the only thing that's guaranteed is that over time, you would have been in profit because it's at an all-time high. Again, I cannot guarantee you profits for the future. All we know is if we look back in the history, both the S&P, both Bitcoin, since they're at an all-time high right now, you could have never done bad investing, right? Again, I am not making the guarantees. I'm just letting you know that over time, these have always gone up. So by that logic, and this is my head, maybe it doesn't spin the same way with others. If we do not believe an asset like Bitcoin or an asset like, or I guess a whole group of assets, a whole ETF, like the S&P, or perhaps even NASDAQ, whatever, goes to zero, right? Or just keeps going down forever, basically. Then we can make a lot of money on it. And the same thing I apply to XRP, Ethereum, Solana, Hype, whatever. But the only difference there is that with those, my personal views are they will outperform Bitcoin over a slightly longer term, meaning mostly our theory is Bitcoin first, then big altcoins, and then smaller and smaller alts as the market progresses. We expected, though, that Bitcoin would probably only start becoming less popular above $120,000 per Bitcoin, with again a day of massive gains, which still has yet to happen. Now, today we saw Bitcoin cross from 112 to 116. That is finally a day of real new all-time highs, where again, since we have said for many, many years now that between August of 2025 and January of 2026, we're going to see the all-time high. This is finally where we really could start to see a new altcoin season. And you have to remember, ladies and gents, if your portfolio is down tremendously, understand that yes, the S&P, yes, Bitcoin, they're both doing amazing. They're both looking awesome when you zoom out. XRP is looking pretty cool in terms of a breakout, but really, when you take a look at the altcoin market cap, this is the altcoins. We're doing good, but we didn't really even peak just quite yet. Like even back earlier in 2021, we were significantly higher. This is Bitcoin and ETH excluded from the total crypto cap. Meaning right now, you might be looking at the entire crypto market thinking everybody's making money. No, they're not. Right? It's cyclical nature. This is the altcoin charts, basically. This shows what altcoins have done. It's cyclical. It just keeps going up, a little bit of pullback up, a little bit of pullback right now. It feels like we're going for the next leg up. I always say, if you're looking for a place to buy with your full net worth, again, not financial advice, just my thoughts, it's always under a 200 moving average. In this case here, for altcoins would be under about 800 billion. For XRP, let's quickly go back. So for Bitcoin, that would be right now under 77K. Those are the levels which it almost never gets back to, and if it does, that's a pretty easy scoop. For XRP here, it seems to be about $1.80. Again, a level which probably will never be reached again, but it could be. If all of a sudden another black swan event hits, it could. But getting you back to it, XRP versus Bitcoin, fun fact, is still only 10% above its recent low. And that's where the funny kicker comes in. You might be looking at the XRP chart thinking, Dusty, is it way too late to buy? Dusty, why did you only buy a few days ago in the XRP chart, right? Why did you only buy $800,000 a few days ago? Why was that? Wasn't it too late? And I'll tell you one. If there's a looming black swan event, if there's a looming war allegation or whatever, like we saw with Trump, you got to be a bit more careful, right? That's one. Second of all, and this is one of the most critical points as well, even though Bitcoin has been doing really, really well, from a Bitcoin perspective, altcoins versus Bitcoin perspective, really, we saw a big run for XRP back in November to January, but this time around, we really haven't seen shit. Almost every single altcoin has not really performed that well against Bitcoin just quite yet, even just to get back relatively, right? From the lower dip, we could go up about plus 78, let's say plus 80% gains from these current prices still to go to the January heights for XRP relative to Bitcoin. It's still 56% worth of gains necessary. That's again just to get back to the January levels. So you might say, Dusty, but the XRP price is already up so much. But relatively not that much because Bitcoin also has been doing some crazy, crazy numbers. So I saw somebody state here. Let me quickly go to the chat. Let's quickly see. Thank you for the videos. Thank you for stopping by and saying hi. If you have to choose between XLM and HBAR, what would you choose to purchase? So that is always a difficult question. I'd probably go for XLM personally, but I always think it's nice to have a little bit in both if I had to make a choice. Blockchain Server says, Dusty, how long to 4K ETH? Target time frame? There's no target time frame. I still say between now and January of next year, we're going to see most of the alts fly. But obviously, I'm a little bit less of a fan of ETH over many, many other things. Daniel says, how was the burger? Burger was a 10 out of 10, all right? For sure, 10 out of 10. Cheese, 2 out of 10. Burger itself, 10 out of 10. One of the best burgers I've had in a long, long, long time. The only place I've had a better burger in my life is somewhere in the freaking depths of mountains of Vietnam. That guy, maybe a $2 burger or something like that, that was the most delicious thing I've ever tasted. All right, that guy didn't speak English. He was eating some rice with a little bit of chicken, with the 7 of them. But that guy knew how to grill freaking burgers, man. That was an amazing one. I can still, I'm reminiscent of those good old times. But yeah, I still feel as if the all-time high will hit us probably within like a few months. But the funniest thing is, you know, you can't really fathom how crazy these things go and how fast. it will probably happen. Like, for example, now, if this is it, right, we'll probably be done with everything in a few months. If you look back, if we just for fun go back to the 2021 run, this is the altcoin market cap. You can see that this was all run up. The time where it really went exponential was, let's just call it, this move right here. It was basically from February 2021 to here, these heights. But in reality, it's actually this second push where everything just went up permanently. Before that, yes, altcoins tripled, quadrupled, but that's actually coming from a dip. This, people didn't really feel too much because it was not everyday massive crazy pumps. The real craziest of times was actually just this smaller period of 2021. And if you take a look at it, this is like 3 months, maybe 3.5 months, let's say, of crazy gains across the board before it was like another year or more of down, about a year or so. And after that, Bitcoin just took over and was way better. If you think about it from that angle, you really don't have that much time. And the funniest thing is, most of the time here as well, you don't think it is the altcoin season until all of a sudden you just see, hey, you know what? A lot of these coins have indeed been going up every single day. Hey, you know what? A lot of my coins have been going up 25% a day for many days in a row. Hey, Pengu is up 33% today, but it was actually up 33% yesterday and 3 days ago and 7 days ago. And then you start to notice, hey, many coins have gone up 200% since then. Because it's not always as obvious as the November XRP pump. Most of the people can only identify an altcoin season after it has hit, which is why I always say, I personally think it's better to have yourself juicy positions in beforehand. A lot of people, right now, I'm telling you right now, a lot of people will only start going for the type of bots that I'm making here once they see me make millions of dollars worth of profit. But I always tell people, and again, this is not financial advice, it's not wise to get in when things are super high. It's nice to get in when things are bad. So for example, my 10K to $1 million challenge, right? We are almost going to start compounding on this. XRP only needs to go a few percent higher because I told y'all this will turn probably, I'm going to try at least, turn this into $1 million over the next few years, right? And the goal is we can only use $10,000. But the coolest part is, even now, we are only minus 10% on the unrealized P&L, but because over the last 60 days or so, or a little bit shorter, it's just been grinding out this 7% here. We eventually, right, don't even have to really break even, or I would say we only have to break even for this to again be 10% where we can compound. Then again, I will tell you that most people will not copy me now that I'm at a loss, right? Because this was at a loss since the start for a long time, even though we already compounded a few times. Most people only copy this once they see the 10K turn into like 150K or so. Even though I keep saying that over time, it still makes sense to just get into something and then DCA. If we take a look at ADA, just for fun, I'll show you more. This was at a loss for most of its duration. It's only now popped back up, but also it's been stacking those grids. Ethereum was at a profit for all the time, actually. It's never been a loss since I bought in. But even now, you can see how much it was able to cash out in the midst. It's actually my most successful bot that I've made in the last couple of months since I started showing these things. You can see the whole scheme, by the way. I put a link in the chat box. Let me put that in again, so you all can see every single one of them, by the way. There you go. It's just a list of how my bots have been performing and what my settings are for in case you were interested in them. So perhaps if you want to see them, you can find them with the link down below right there. And having said that, and this again, a lot of people do not understand. For some reason, people don't get this. Right now, if you're looking at the XRP gains, it is nice, but in reality, I'm not really staying awake for $2.57. I'm not really staying awake for $2.60, 65, something like that. You know what's gonna keep me awake? All of a sudden, 20% moves, 10% moves. And for example, Bitcoin moves of $5,000 in 5 minutes, like we saw earlier today. But I'm warning y'all, right now it's quite it's quite calm, right? The times are not that crazy, but I want you guys to realize that this could get very crazy, very quickly, and you will not sleep as well no more. Why am I saying that? Well, because back here in this November period, I cannot remember a time where I spent more time on my computer than in these legs up, right? I felt so bad every single day. Why? Even though my portfolio was basically all-time high soaring, because XRP was soaring, And I saw XRP at $3.40, the highest level in what, 8 years. I was ecstatic. The problem also comes that you always feel as if you need more. You should have bought more. You should have gone a bit crazier. And I'm telling you right now, the reason I don't mind blasting the top in times as good as these is because you will always feel as if when you bought and the price goes down, but at least I got myself a good position in. At least I got myself a good amount of coins. It's only if things start getting liquid, if you do it really, really too much, that you feel bad. Most of the time, like, oh, you know what? If I, for example, if we look at ETH, right? If I were to open another ETH bot, the reason I didn't is because it was at an instant profit and it just kept going up. But I only put $1,500 in and we took $1,700 out already. That's what the profit is at right now, which I can just take out if I want to, right? But that makes you realize, man, I should probably, when you really start thinking about it, just open up another one. Because if we look at Bybit and my account over there, right? I'm at the wrong account. This is my other account. If you guys don't remember, this is a trade we opened live on stream. If just for all the OGs here, if y'all remember how this happened, I basically opened an account with $5,000 in it. And I said, should we long or should we short? All of you guys said long. Then instantly in that stream, the price went down hard, and I told you guys we're all stupid, and I ended the stream. And then a few months later, we realized, hey, I didn't actually close that trade because I just opened it on a whim. And I sometimes did that back then. And then later on, I realized, hey, it's actually doing really, really well. I just kept it going, And right now, the $2,000 we put into that one trade, $20,000 worth of trade, is actually now almost $50,000 in the plus. Which I still can't imagine somebody looking at this thinking, oh, no, I can't turn my 1K into like 100 over a season. People can. People will, right? Again, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying everybody can do it, but there'll be a ton of people who do. And that's the thing. You just need to get lucky once. Really. You could have had a good, sometimes it gets stuck. You could have had a good ETH entry now, for example. This ETH trade was actually at a loss yesterday. All of a sudden, it skyrocketed. It's only a $120,000 trade, so I'm not too excited about it because, well, it's ETH, right? It's huge. ETH is not going to do craziest of numbers. Maybe it's going to 3x. Then we only make a few $100,000. We want to make way, way, way more. So then I'm not even now thinking like, you know what? We're basically only 30% above my entry price. Actually, matter of fact, not even that much. Maybe like 3% because of leverage. But it's only 41 ETH. We should get like 1,000 ETH on this position just so you can feel some of the excitement. If you get my drift. Oh, guys. Whoa, wait a minute. Bitcoin is going. Wait a minute. Bitcoin's going on a rampage. And also, it's so satisfying to see these bots just grind out these profits. It really is something different, man. Somebody says Dusty owns 𝗵𝗵. Of course I own 𝗵𝗵. I also have a 𝗵𝗵 bot here. Let me see where it is at. Here we go. It's not that interesting. It's only $7,500 that's inside. But hey, we have a bot running for it. Just turned back into profit. I also own 𝗵𝗵. It is one of my biggest Memecoin bags. But then again, I can't tell you it's actually that good a coin. It just depends on your perspective. There have been videos I made in the past where I said there's a good chance that in the top Memecoin list, 𝗵𝗵 could overtake. It is true. I did say that, and I still kind of believe that now. And again, back to my earlier statement, guys. If you look at XRP from a USD perspective, it seems quite high. But if you look at it from a Bitcoin perspective, ETH, even and XRP here, they're quite cheap still. So again, I'm not recommending you to do nothing, right? I'm not saying whatever you got to do. All I'm saying is relatively, we're still quite cheap. My thoughts. Alright, where's everybody watching from right now? We've got a full rotation going because I realized we've already been streaming for like half an hour. And the chat box is a bit different. We've got about 450 people in. We've had about 1,300 people stop by and say hi. About 5 minutes on average. We got 100 likes as well. If you feel like it, you can press that like button, by the way. If you're watching this right now and you feel like, hey, you know what, I want to help out. That's the easiest way you could do so. I'm not really asking anything else. The rest is completely up to you, right? If you want to, you can press that like button. Just helps the stream perform a little bit better. So I always appreciate that. But for the rest, it doesn't give me money or anything. So if you're worried about that, if you're worried about it doing anything to you, it doesn't. If you're worrying about anything to me, not really. I think it just helps the stream perform a bit better because it shows YouTube, hey, these people really appreciate what we've got going on here. All right? Again, you don't have to. It might just help out. And let's just quickly do a roll call. Let's see where everybody's from today. So, today, Ireland. So, what? My camera keeps getting stuck. Ireland. Damn, what time are you watching this from? What time is it over there? That is wild. Ireland, Oregon, United States, Australia. Australia, those people are easier right now. North Carolina, we got Tampa, we got Puerto Rico, we got Valhalla. Of course, a few have to be in there. Nevada. Devon? I've never heard of that spot before. I don't have no idea where that's at. Dusty, do you like the blowfin bots? Not really. Like, the ones I showcase, I've specifically chosen because they're just good. So Payonix is the best bots in the world right now. Blowfin told me they're working on it, but they're not there yet. All right, soon. Devon, PA, St. Louis, Australia, Ozark Mountains in Arkansas. All right, Lego. Is that a place, or are you just saying something, or you just mean let's go? We got Mars. We got Puerto Rico. What's your honest grounded prediction of the XP price, Dusty? If you're talking about the entire season, in my opinion, there's no way we end below like $12. But I honestly feel as if we're going to go way higher. But there's a few differentiating factors. The most important factor is, will the altcoin season be as crazy as any previous one? Right? Because the reason I'm saying that is because you can't always expect the returns per cycle to be about the 3x, which is what ETH has previously done from 1,500 to 4,500, and Bitcoin did from 20K to 70K, right? But there already comes the kicker. Ethereum went from 1,400 some to 4,500, so 3x. Bitcoin did a better return over that market. And that makes me think, so if some altcoins are able to, maybe it did about the same. Maybe ETH was actually 1,200 the first cycle. I don't know. I don't remember. If those coins basically are able to do kind of like similar gains, I do wonder if this time the institutions are even more focused on Bitcoin, if a lot of those top alts will have a shorter period where they fully go crazy, and it's mostly going to be smaller, newer alts. And this altcoin season will also be over a bit quicker, which is why to that extent I'm like, if it's going to be as crazy and as similar as the previous ones, funnily enough, this is really funny, I actually expect it to be worse. If the altcoin season of the previous markets won't be copied in a similar sense, then there's a higher likelihood we see the top alts shine for a bit longer. Think about it like this. Let's say every single time we know the system, Bitcoin first, big altcoins after, smaller and smaller coins. But this time around, Pump Fund and platforms like that are more popular than ever, and all of a sudden, since all those smaller coins are now getting more and more hyped up, more and more accessible because exchanges are more popular and stuff, all of a sudden people kind of skip the majors. They go for it for a time, but I think since every single time a system works where it goes from huge Bitcoin to smaller, 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 people kind of skip the medium level. Again, those will still pump, in my opinion, significantly, but that could be the differentiating factor between a $14 XRP and a $22 XRP. Why $22? Why even $28? Again, not necessarily the most likely, but if you think about it, XRP and ETH, if you just relatively measure them, if XRP were to get some of its old glory back, it could go as high as $30 this season. To stay conservative, you say, you know what, it doesn't get back to its relative market size, it gets half that, well, $15, something like that. It's really not that odd. Again, am I expecting it to happen soon? Not necessarily. I would even already be quite happy with a $10 XRP. If it goes to 20 though, you do not know the things I do. All right, you do not know the havoc I'm about to unleash upon this world. The moment that a $20 XRP hits my screen here. All right? Oh, you do not want to know. And I can't say it on the internet either. All I can tell you is it will be interesting. We got an Irishman in Vietnam living in Thailand. All right, that's an interesting story right there. Let's see. Karai says, if it's $20, I'm going to retire. I think a lot of people will. And the funniest thing is, I am quite certain, and again, this is not finished advice, it's just my thoughts, that we will eventually hit those prices anyway. But it just might take one more season or something like that. But then again, maybe with the craziness of ETFs, just like how How many people expected NVIDIA to go on the rampage which is done now? And you have to understand, NVIDIA, NVIDIA chart. Let's go for fun trading view. Let me find an NVIDIA chart for you, right? This is crucial to look at. Let's go. Let me open up. Let me cook up some, right? Let me cook up some. Let me tell you some. NVIDIA. I only look this up once every so often. Like, I never look at stocks individually, ever. So, if we take a look at NVIDIA, right, and we give it a little zoom, and we give it a little bit more of a zoom, and we give it a bit more of a zoom. You want to know the funniest thing about this? Really, a really funny thing. Almost nobody a few years ago expected NVIDIA to go on such a massive rally. Because when you look at it from a monthly perspective, people often say like, oh, but it can't go up forever. Well, I mean, NVIDIA had its downturns for a little bit, but really, when you start looking back like 30 years ago, it's done some really pretty crazy performances for a stock, right? Think about that for a second. Look at the numbers we're looking at for an individual stock. But hey, maybe you don't want to look so far back because those were the old ages. Well, if you look at crypto though, we are pretty new into all of it, right? If you counter NVIDIA by saying you skip the first 10 years or something like that, you just take a look at it in like the modern times. At this point, I was already making crypto videos here on my channel. You only look at it from there up to now, it is up 5,200%. Most people probably thought that NVIDIA back then was already crazy high. Because I saw NVIDIA everywhere back in 2018, even in 2020 and all that stuff. It still was able to do like a 50, 60x from those levels. Think about that for just a second. Now you might say, yeah, but they're the center of AI. They're the biggest thing in the world. They just hit $4 trillion worth of market cap. And you know the funniest thing? I think that eventually a company will hit 10 trillion. And eventually a company will hit 20 trillion. Because these markets keep growing. I've told you many times before, if you continuously invest over time, and the most precious thing we have is time, it's not actually impossible for even people in this chat to become billionaires with moderately high incomes, right? Not average incomes, but quite high. I'm talking if you right now are making like $20,000 a month and you're investing 10,000 of that, you'll become a billionaire on average in about 50, 55, maybe 60 years. You might say, oh, but that's too long. I'll always be, I'm 95 years old, whatever. It's about the idea. Warren Buffett is what, 98, 95, something like that? I mean, he's got multiple billions, but also the core principle applies. That's with 10K a month, all right? Some people have way more than that. Some people have less. But we're talking about billionaire with a B status. And that's, again, not doable for most people. But the idea that it's that close is kind of strange to me still. A 12% return a year. The S&P has done about that, sometimes better, right? Depending on exactly which period you take. When you see it from that angle, that it's kind of like possible. Most people think it's too far away. But if you think about it from a 10K month, 10K month's a lot. But I don't think many people in this chat would tell me, no, all right, $10,000 is crazy. It might be a lot of money, but not crazy, really. Right? For example, if we look at these trades that I've been pulling, if you keep this up and you were able to take a few trades of this a month, which I'm not saying is easy, but I'm saying if, you're a billionaire in like, what, 15 years or something like that, let's say 20 years, if you're able to pull months like this consistently. And that's the funny thing. People seem to really, it's like, what's the law? It's what Bill Gates said a while back of people tend to really overestimate what they can do in 1 year, really underestimate what they can do in 10. If you think of just returns over a 20-year period, oh, wow, that's for traditional investing. But then the crypto market has got like some just completely overblazing multiplier on top, where if you just think about where the crypto market was 5 years ago, and then think about it like that 5 years into the future. Damn, right? Just damn. Steven says market cap doesn't mean anything. I think it's a good indicator to see how big something is. I mean, it's not like there's market cap restrictions, but otherwise, how do you quantify where it should stand in the rankings? And Bobby says, people don't make that kind of money, bro. I'm not sure. He says, investing 10K months is a bit crazy, dude. So, Bobby, you're forgetting one thing. I'm talking about becoming a billionaire off of $10,000 a month. Again, I'm not saying $10,000 is little. I'm saying, if I tell you right now, oh, you could become a billionaire in 50 years, most people will be like, no, there's no single way that's possible. How would I ever? But if I say, whoa, You know, if we're just talking about $10,000 a month, there's not that many people that tell me it's impossible. And if you do, it's just your mindset, because people are making millions of dollars a day. You got to understand that. There's people like that who probably started with nothing. It's not impossible. You just might not be in the right either mindset, not in the right field, not with the right people, whatever. Now we're getting a bit motivational. But in that sense, there's nothing stopping even just you from getting to that level. Again, maybe you're not getting lucky. Could be. But there's people, even you remember the story of my channel, and you remember the story of my investments, right? I won one giveaway, $20 worth. And we started this entire thing. And now we're trading millions of dollars on a whim sometimes. Think about it from that angle, right? That was some years ago. But still, do you think I thought, you know, and the same thing applies to the first time I heard somebody that ever made $1 or $2 million in a day. I could never believe it. I was like, sure, buddy. But then all of a sudden you realize, it's just a 24-year-old kid. It's just a 25-year-old guy. They do exist. They are there, right? But if you don't see that, if you don't get it in your head, you might think it's kind of impossible. So a lot of people, especially people with not that much, poor people with not that much, very often say, yeah, but you're already rich. You got to get to that level first, my brother, and that's the hard part. Once you're rich, things are so much easier, sure. But a lot of people had to go through that. It's not as if, for most people that are watching this especially, like it comes automatically. And again, if you're not into futures trading, do not think this is the only way. It's just one of the ways I've shown you that is sometimes quite fast, right? Same thing for the bots. Do not think you have to use one of the platforms I talk about. You could do everything manually. You could do everything with spot. Payonex, for example, the bots I'm running, you could also have spot bots, meaning they don't have any leverage. It could be, especially if it's against your religion or you just don't like leverage. Go for it. You know, let's say you want to do it with $100,000. Do it with $200 first. Try it out. Give it a spin. See if you like it or not. See if the settings make sense to you. You don't have to be that fast. The most precious thing we have is time, sure, but it's one layer above that is our sanity, right? It's not worth stressing out over many of these things. I have found out my most important stress point, though, and that one is regret. I prefer to have a bit of an overly invested amount and just regret, the idea that I bought a bit too much. I prefer that regret over not buying enough. Because again, I still am, from my own perspective, 100%, but let's just say 99.9% convinced we are about to see the craziest raging bull market ever. That I personally think it is not worth not being a bit scared. We're like, I'm really quite committed here. I've got a lot of money in this area. That's what I see. Let's see some comments again. So again, you might be wondering as well, Dusty, why are you not covering news? Why are you covering comments? I think the best way to learn, even for me, is to see what other people think about the situation. Because at the end of the day, we're all on this journey together. Crypto is so large nowadays that I'm buying, you're buying, it doesn't make a difference, right? None of us buying makes any difference whatsoever. Every single one of us can win together. And me sharing my story does not hurt me in any way, shape, or form. And the same thing for other people in the chat. Don't just think, just because it's somebody in the chat, their information is worthless, or you should only listen to me. There's a very good chance that somebody right here is typing that knows some stuff way better than I do. So it's always worth reading exactly what these people say. That's why I hate it so much that the comments are filled with bots, but it's hard to beat, guys. But just, appreciate sometimes the feedback other people give, because it can very much help you out. All right, it's my thoughts. All right, so we got Dog saying, it's very bad to have attitude that can see only meters away from you and doing nothing because you see within those meters are pain, while sweet success wait for you on the other side of those ranges. That is a really, really beautiful quote, and I very much agree with that. So a lot of people, they think they're too narrow-minded. You think about, you know what? But it's far away, it's far away. Same thing right now. If I give you $100, and I'm like, you know what? Go make this into $1 million. People often will say, it's not. Well, no, let's do it differently. It's like, okay, you got a challenge right now, right? You got $1,000. Go turn this into $1 million. They'll often say, it's impossible, it's impossible, it's impossible. And then I revert back saying, you know what? Oh no, matter of fact, even just if you go from 1K to 10 or 20,000, they'll try one trade. They're like, it's down a lot. It's impossible. I can't do it. They give up. When in reality, if they take in a few years, most likely 98% of the people were able to do it by just investing in the S&P. Now, again, if I give you a time restriction, you might have to pull out some crazier strings. But again, is it possible? For most people, probably yes, over a good amount of time. Yet when I ask and this is the funniest thing. I've asked so many people in my life about investing, and most people say investing is stupid. So the fact you guys are watching this right now already makes me so happy every single day I wake up. I'd say at least 85, probably more percent of the people I've spoken to in my life think investing is dumb and makes people lose money, when in reality, the entire stock market in the US has only gone up ever. If you go for specific stocks, you might get unlucky, sure. But again, if you go for the biggest ones, even then, I don't know, man. It feels as if it's always just been pretty good. So I find it odd that people always have this mindset of, no, it's bad. So from that angle, then, again, to get back to our earlier point of narrow-mindedness, really, I think mostly it's the attitude that's the problem. It's not the tools you've got. It's not the money you've got. It's just your thinking process towards it. Interesting Nobody says, I day trade ETH and Bitcoin futures at 5x 7 days a week on Coinbase. I print green daily. That's amazing. Bobby says, I'll look into those. I'm not sure what exactly he's talking about, but... GA says, people need to take profit this cycle, but not to try go for a home run. Just take the base this cycle and next cycle, and sooner or later, you're at home plate. I'll counter that by saying you should take profits every single time you feel as if you've achieved something. So when I say that, right now, it's $70,000 in the plus. For me, like I said, I kind of want to see that, if we're being honest, right? I want to see this trade be up at least $1 million. Otherwise, I'm not really happy at all. But I've told you many times, 200,000 is enough. 200,000 is where I'm going to be happy. Why? Because I know you have to sometimes cut yourself a bit short, right? Even at 200,000 in the plus, I'll take a good chunk and just sell it. Why? Just to secure some profits. I'm not going to be that happy, all right? I'm going to be happy, but it's like nothing, all right? We need to take this one so much further, because otherwise it's not worth it, the wait and all the dabba-dabba-dabba-do. So, again, I'm saying 200,000 to all of y'all, when in my mind it's maybe like 700,000, 800, maybe 1 million, maybe 1.5 million. Because I don't think tripling for XRP at these prices is that odd. I still think it's going to happen. And I still kind of feel as if I should just keep this long open because it kind of looks cool as well. That's also a side note. But yeah, I would already be pretty comfortable selling a good chunk with 200K profit, just because it is still 200K profit, right? You can still buy like a nice watch off of that. I could still buy something. I don't know. There's not much I could buy with only $200,000, but I'm joking. All right, you could probably buy like 1/4 of a house in California nowadays. I'm starting to realize how little money really matters nowadays. It's the bar for everything is starting to become so high, but I also realize it's the bubble that you're in. Like, especially the richer your people are around you, the lesser this feels, right? When, again, one of my other friends, it has a $4 million trade open and $1 million profit. Another friend of mine is making, millions of dollars a month off of his trades. And then you realize, oh, Chris is a $30 million trade open and this, that. It makes you feel small. When in reality, for somebody else, a $1,000 trade is crazy, right? And I realize that I'm not a freaking stupid ass. I understand also the numbers we're talking about here are ridiculous. The fact that I'm opening a $800,000 trade by just click, I'm opening more. Right? A few years ago, I would have smacked you the freaking clap out of you. I would have been like, whoa. So again, this just takes time and familiarity, because I understand the game and understand if I'm not buying it here in a long, all I would do is just buy more spot. And spot being I would just buy the XRP and keep it in cold storage. But why push in all that capital, right? Because here, understand, it's not as if it's a money restriction. I could open way more. I still have about $420,000 in my account. I could still open, as you can see here, a $4 million XRP long right now if I wanted to. It's not as if that's the issue. It's just I'm being kind of careful. Why? People ask that so many times. Why? Because again, I know myself. I know exactly where I regret things. I know exactly where I feel comfortable at. I know exactly that, hey, you know what? I keep a good amount of money here just to buy the dip in case it does happen. Do I think it's going to happen? No. But again, it's already an $800,000 trade. I'm pretty happy with this. The only thing I kind of want is for it to be $1 million. But the fun fact is, because I'm buying XRP, the way it looks on Blofin though, eventually it will be $1 million trade because it's the total XRP value that counts. But the dollar value goes up as the XRP value goes up. Tetra says leverage trading isn't for me, but I do envy your trading success. Well, all right. All right, that's good. Another funny thing. You know, you want to know, I know another curse for many. You know, the biggest curse when it comes to leverage trading for most people is just over leveraging. If you just take it nice and slow, which is often why I show these bots as well, because it's hard to mess up with them. If you take it nice and slow, the leverage is quite low, you do 3x leverage, for example, all you're doing is amplifying your gains by keeping some capital free, because the probability of a coin dropping more than 33% in a day, especially if you add a bit of margin in turbulent times, it's quite low. So I'm always willing to take that risk. But the bots, is a bit, you even have a bit more leeway because it buys on the way down, so it pushes your liquidation down further. But in general, I'm not really an advocate against leverage. The only thing I'm saying is don't be like James Wynn and all those big characters where you are, let's say you have $1 million in your account, you can do 50x leverage, so you do 40x leverage, a $40 million trade, because that's risky, right? But the way we're doing it, as you can see on my channel, I mean, there's not that much that can happen. If XRP right now, let's go back to it. Oh, it's the police sirens. I thought somebody was screaming outside. If XRP goes to 80 cents, yeah, we lose a lot of money. But until that happens, I'm going to freaking fight the crap out of this one. So, yeah. Fun fact, I think if XRP goes to 80 cents, I think I'm down like, how much? $500,000 or something like that? Probably. But I don't think it's going to happen. And if it does, we will have to go for the craziest long that humankind has ever seen. But again, I don't think it's going to happen. It gets me excited, though, to realize that this is the start of the crazy times. Like, we do not know if it's going to be tomorrow or next month or anything like that. All we know is that Bitcoin just now making this move has, again, proven it to a lot of people that from here is where crazy times again begin. And again, I cannot guarantee you nothing, right? Even now, I will not guarantee you that all of a sudden you're going to wake up tomorrow and be happy. No. It could be that all of a sudden you get a pullback. People keep saying about these traps. All I say is over time, it has never not been worth it to be a bit crazy because we know eventually it goes up. It's only about the short term, though. The only thing, and guys, please understand this. The reason I'm showing you these trades every single day is so people can understand. I bought the top so many freaking times here. Every single time, I am aping into XRP at its highest point. Look back at it. If we look back at this chart, look at this. I'm buying XRP at $2.29. All right, look at this. I'm buying XRP there at $2.30. I bought XRP at $2.30 something again. Why am I doing that? To prove a point. This was minus $100,000 before. Right now it's plus 70K. You might hate it at the start. And this is also without leverage, by the way. We're not only talking leverage here, all right? It's okay. But it's all about over time. It's all about over time. We have never lost. The crypto market is always moving up. If you think it's going to zero, short, again, this is not financial advice, short the crap out of it because you'll be a billionaire. If crypto really goes to zero, even you with $10,000 could become a billionaire if you short it right now, right? And if it goes to zero right now. The probability of that is like 98%. Of you becoming a little billionaire, even with no money at all, if you just short the crap out of it. But most people don't think it's going to happen because the probability of going to zero is so small. And if we do not go to zero, it is mostly up and it's so easy. The S&P, NASDAQ, most of the major stocks, the top stocks, right? Most of the cryptos. Again, you might get a bit unlucky with the timing, but again, that's temporary. I've shown you this channel. I showed you so many days where this trade was minus 70,000, 60,000, 80,000, minus 100,000, even the bots. Remember, guys, when I told y'all every single one of them was down. And I said, just wait, I'll show you when it's hundreds of thousands of dollars in the profit. But people don't think about the longer term. They just think, oh, it's at a loss. He must be stupid. Oh, it's at a loss. This is not smart. You know when they buy in? When these trades are up so much, that's when people go for it. And I see it every single season. So I'm warning everybody now, don't think buying into a top is bad. The only way it's bad is if you're a short-term thinker and you're thinking, I need to be in profit straight away. But what I would personally do, if I had $0 in crypto right now, I'd buy right now, this second. Why? Because time overall wins every single race. But to make sure you keep your sanity, I would not buy everything at once. I would buy a chunk and then see how the price does over a few weeks span. Maybe like a week later, I buy a little bit more. Oh, but the price has gone up. It doesn't matter. I'll buy again. Oh, it's up 20%. Who cares about 20% when we're talking about thousands of percent? Oh, but I actually could have gotten a bit more. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Just, again, give you a piece of my life. Do you think I notice a 20% difference in one of the trades? No, right? Years ago, maybe at the start I could have thought about it, but I don't remember all the prices I bought at. I never remember if I bought Bitcoin at 2,242 or 2,400 or 1,800, right? I remember stacking Bitcoin when it was less than $1,000 a coin, and you never really thought about the price. Is the difference per day could be way more than it is right now, percentage-wise, in a day. And back then, even then, I wasn't really thinking about it too much because you're just thinking, huh, huh, huh. And if I look back now at it, every single time I bought at, for example, 1,800 versus 2,600, that's, maybe a 0.3, whatever, 0.3%, 0.3 Bitcoin difference. Right now, that's like 40 grand for like a few $100 back then. And you could think about it from that angle, but really, for the most part, if you just put $10,000 in the end of the day, if you bought it at freaking 1,800 or 2,500, both of them were pretty freaking good. You either got 4 Bitcoin, maybe 5. Both of those right now would make you extremely happy, if you get it, from my perspective. So, all these people too much focused on the short term, it sometimes saddens me a bit. Just keep realizing what we're doing here. The reason I showed those bots way more than I sometimes been comfortable with, because sometimes I get comments, people saying, please stop with the bots, is because it's one of the easiest methods I've ever found. And again, one of my best friends, I'll quickly open it up if I can, if I have the Google Sheet open. Here has a official sheet as well, where you can see he just went from about $3,000 to, I believe, $1.3 or $1.2 million just publicly. And I'm going to replicate that by doing the $10,000 to $1 million challenge. He did it with 3x Bitcoin. I'm doing it with 5x XRP because his took, I think, 3 years, and I want to do it faster. I want to hopefully be able to do it in like a year and a half or something like that. And again, most people say, it's impossible, it's impossible. I will never tell you, try it out. No. Do whatever you want. I always say, just see whatever the options are, and then do whatever feels good to you. All I am saying is, I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing that. I think this is smart. I think I should be doing that. I went on a crazy rampage there because I realized some people need to hear it. All right, maybe you watching right now, maybe you needed to hear that. Really, I really wish a few years ago somebody sat me down, gave me a few slaps in the face and said, hey, shut up, and the best thing you could probably do is just regret putting that money in, but then at least have tried. If we got $1,000 right now, example, the $1,000 in a good market, what can you turn it into, right? You pick a number. What you could turn it into in a good altcoin season. If you lose the 1,000, you'll feel bad, sure. But at least you tried. And with the knowledge I've got now, I'm stuck, aren't I? I am stuck. Let me try and get this unstuck. There we go. With the knowledge I have now, I would take that chance every single time. Yeah, I know. I got stuck there for a second. Also, people keep asking me about my top coins, but in reality, most of the coins are kind of garbage right now. What do I mean with that? There's not really any line that differentiates one coin and another. There's no real hard narrative right now, and you will only see that as the market picks back up a little bit. Like right now, the top coins, Pengu, Say, all those. I mean, Say had some good announcements. I tweeted about that earlier. But for the most part, there's no utility run right now, no meme run or anything of the sort. So if you're asking for top altcoins, I can tell you a list of coins I always hold. But if you're wondering what is most interesting right now, there isn't a very clear subsector of coins. I could call like things like hype that are quite hyped up. But even then, just because they were hyped up the last few weeks doesn't mean that over a good altcoin period here, they actually continue to do really, really well. Some people have said ETH ecosystem because ETH is going to rally again. But again, that's pretty similar to actually just putting your money on ETH with some leverage, for example. It's similar to buying Curve, Uniswap, and things of that sort. So it's a bit in the middle in that department. If ETH goes on a crazy rally, yeah, indeed, the whole ETH ecosystem is in a pretty good spot. If Solana goes on a crazy rally because of the Pump Fund release, hey, maybe Pump Fund's launch right now goes so crazy that Solana ecosystem goes wild, and that's like a rolling ball. Could be, but it's hard to say. Dust, do you have a crypto trading course? Fun fact, I've never sold a single thing. I have no course. I have no nothing. Why? You know, and this is a funny thing about me. I'll tell y'all, for all y'all. I appreciate, again, just want to quickly say, every single one of you is here. I appreciate every single one of you, all right? I really wish the best for every single person, all the 451 that are in here, every single one of you, especially if you're saying something in the chat and I can see your name and I remember that. Just know, it's from a person that, in this case, I can do anything I want, can have anything I want. You know, one of the best, calm, chill, amazing moments of my day is just being able to talk with people in this chat. So, just want to say I appreciate every single one of you, man. Just really do. I really do. It's a really important thing in my day. Just want to quickly say that. What was the question? So, I've never sold a single thing, and it's funny about me. It's mostly because of what people would think. I even thought, should I do a free course? But there's always some negative sides to that. Should I do this? Should I do that? But I never wanted to sell something. Sometimes I still think it's wise, though, because people take your course way more seriously if they pay for it. It's just true. All right? I always say, and I've said it 1,000 times, there's nothing really in a course you need to buy unless you want structure. Because crypto trading course, there's 1,000 free ones online. I've made 1,000 tutorials about all this stuff, right? Language learning, you can find everything you want online. What can you think of, unless it's very specific? I remember when I was in university, I was doing everything off of YouTube. Nothing you'd ever go to class for. I hated class because you cannot 2x or 3x the freaking class in life, right? I could never, still now, to this day, I can never understand anybody who would ever go to a lesson inside of a university unless it is not recorded, not specific, blah, blah, blah. But even then, why would you watch the recording? Just watch a YouTube video on the topic. It doesn't even matter what the topic is. Most likely there's people who've already done the course who are talking about it now, because unless you do something really obscure. And the same thing applies here. Why buy a course? Go watch it for free. Save your money. Invest it. Is my thoughts. All right? Go trade some. That's why also I'm always a big advocate of bonuses. A lot of people don't understand why I talk so much about some of the trading platforms. One very important thing also is if we take something like Blowfin. I don't want to show it here today because my channel got a strike recently because of the Brad Garlinghouse video. So I want to, take it a bit easy. But one thing, with some of these platforms, like for example now Blowfin, you actually, just for depositing a certain amount, get a 15% bonus. You understand that's an instant 15%. All you have to do is just potentially look at the rules, right? Maybe flip it a few times or so. But worst case, you just trade until you can get that out and just make a free amount of schmeckles. Bybit used to always have a $3,000 and actually sometimes a $30,000 bonus. People think that's stupid, but a lot of people, they just make accounts, right? But Bybit has KYC and everything, just to get that money, and sometimes they dip again. Dusty, when do you think you'll become a bit? It's hard to say when the big B in that sense will happen, because it depends on a few factors. Because sometimes I think, oh, it's actually not far away at all, and sometimes I realize, there's a couple steps in the middle still. Yeah, but it's also different when you're talking about the worth of all your coins together versus what you have in a bank account or something, because those are very, very different. Those are significantly different. And also, I should tell you one more thing that a lot of people do not get from watching videos. I always like to be open in that sense. Man, you cannot know anybody's net worth from anything they're doing, anything they're saying, nothing, right? For example, you've got some of the most popular streamers out there making, what, $10 million, sometimes probably more, $20 million a month. And a lot of people don't know. They look at that thinking, oh, maybe these guys are raking in. But you wouldn't really get it if just somebody's walking across the street. And the same thing for a lot of other popular people. The amount of wealth some of these people have is just insane. And like, oh yeah, but he's wearing those shoes. What does that matter? Or sometimes people say, oh, if you really had anything, you would not be making videos or streams. I'm like, I always look at that thinking, again, some of the richest people I know, the most important thing they do is just make videos. Mr. Beast, multi-billion-dollar company. All he does is make videos, right? Oh, an actor is not a serious profession? Right? More interesting, right? Or a director is not a serious thing. He's making movies. That's not serious. Oh, no, but that's a bigger scale. So that's different all of a sudden. But that's one of the most important things I see. Tetra says, smart people don't share real wealth. Also 50-50, it depends on where your wealth is coming from. A lot of people like to share it because that makes them more money. If, let's say for example, right, we get a Mark Cuban. Let's say he's very famous because of his business success. You sometimes get more business success because people see your successes. So sometimes a public W can turn into multiple public Ws. So it also makes sense to share. Some people don't like to because all of a sudden there's expectation, all of a sudden there's the safety hazards, etc., etc. Daniel says, tell him, Dusty, spending more time in the market is better than timing the market. Every single time. Time in the markets beats it, unless you get very freaking unlucky and you just buy the exact wrong time or something like that. But generally speaking, it's a better strategy. Not always, but most of the time. Randy says, I don't hold any crypto. Hey, that's completely fine. All right, you can also just watch it just to get some orientation or see what other people are doing. Or maybe you're preparing yourself to eventually get into investing. I think it's all cool. Oh, never mind. He says I lost it in a boating accident. All right, Randy. I see what you did there, my friend. Will there be a video how I became a billionaire just from XRP? It depends on how high XRP goes, huh? I guess it could happen. It would be kind of funny if XRP does a few multiples from where it's currently at, all of a sudden. But even to me, it sounds kind of strange. The idea that could actually happen in a pretty quick time span all of a sudden. It's really quite odd. It's not as far away as you might think. Yeah, that's sometimes kind of funny to me. It's really just if I look back at some of these cycles and the multiples which we're able to pull every single cycle, it's really not that odd. And multiple of I'm quite sure that multiple of my friends that I would have never will probably be billionaires in this season. It's really, really strange. Again, I don't think they're gonna cash it out all, to be honest with you. Like real talk, I think they'll be back to a few hundred million afterwards. But still, the fact that it's interesting. And again, not most people, by the way. Most people won't, right? I only know a select few. But still, it's kind of crazy. And that's because a lot of people they underestimate how much gains you can make in one season. There's many people who go, there's also a few like Twitter people that were all of a sudden able to cash out like from being nothing, being almost a nobody, cash out $10, $20 million all of a sudden in 6 months with memes. Now, you might say they did some shady things in the sense that they maybe launched their own. I don't know. I didn't look into it too much in that sense. The Memecoin stuff is not really fully my forte. But the fact that some people were able to do it still is crazy to me. You might say, but they're insiders. Man, you still got to be able to know how to do all that stuff. Like, you're forgetting that it's still a pretty crucial part, even if they're insiders, is doing that part and finding a way to get it done. Yeah, but they're scamming with memes because they're doing this and that and this and that. Well, I'm not saying you should because maybe it's not ethical, but hey, would you know exactly how to do it? Would it be as successful if you were to? And let's just say that they were doing something that you don't agree with ethically. Try to do it in the best way possible and that it is ethical and at least make 1/10 of what he's making. All right? If he's making 17 million, 25 million, you make just $500,000. All right? Just make 1/50th or whatever of what he's making. Do it ethically, whatever. It's hard, man. Even if you see them and you think, but they're doing shady. Even if I'm not saying he's doing something good. I'm just saying, hey, Anyway, once the super cycle comes, everybody's happy most of the time. I think the most unhappy times for most people actually are when the prices move up too much. Because once you get into a phase of just only up, this euphoria, for example, this is not real euphoria. The real euphoria for the S&P, for example, starts significantly higher. But for XRP, for example, right now we just got a nice bounce on the Bitcoin pair. Really, for Bitcoin, for the total altcoin market cap, for anything, the real euphoria hasn't even started. Once it does, the sleeping will be less easy because every single time you're looking at the prices, you'll be thinking, if only I bought more, because every single coin all of a sudden is worth so much. Right now, there were people in my chat, if I look back, saying, I wish I bought so much more when it was at $1.90. And that FOMO will hit harder once we cross an all-time high. The FOMO will hit harder once we are at $9 in XRP, for example. Because every single XRP... Now, another fun fact. Do you remember last week when I said, I was trying to buy another like few $100,000 worth of... let me show you real quick. If I still have it open. No, I don't. Let me see. Let me go to the full list. Give me a second. Let me try to open up. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm trying to look around my microphone, look at my screen. I'm looking at some of my trade history. All right, I'll open up 30 days. Let me find my next page. Maybe it's here. Let's quickly see. So, for example, let me go see if I can find. Let me see if we can go find the trade that got canceled. Let me just quickly see. Where was it? It was not too long ago, right? It was just some days ago. Why do I not see? Oh, here we go. So, as you go here. So this is, for example, just what? 1 week ago, the 2nd of July. I'm here trying to buy another $105,000 worth of Bitcoin or something like that. I'm not sure which one exactly I'm looking at. Where is it now? Yeah, it's 1.4 Bitcoin, right, that I'm trying to buy right there, 148,000. But unfortunately, it did not get filled, so I ended up only buying 25. So again, we try to buy another $150,000 worth if we did, because in this time frame, we went from 105K to 115. Would be up a pretty juicy penny, right? Even if it's only like 10% up. That still could be a nice, easy 15K extra on the current $25,000 profits that it's in, right? Could be a nice little addition. And so I'll be looking at this thinking, when Bitcoin goes to 300K, but right now we're okay. But that's also another thing. When the market really pumps hard, you'll be looking at every single one of those decisions, looking back, thinking, I wish I. So don't try to get that FOMO get to your head, because if only you had a freaking golden ball or whatever they call it. If only you had a freaking. Wait a minute. I always said it like this. If only you had a freaking magic ball you could use to all of a sudden see all the crypto prices. Just conjure it up. Yeah, that would be pretty cool, right? But it's not that easy. So you got to deal with whatever you got in front of you. Anyway, boys, I think that was it for right now. It is right now 1:45. I think we've been streaming for like a little bit. If something crazy happens, of course, I'll be back with another update. Probably another another video coming out in a few hours. I'm not sure yet what the video is going to be on, because I have many ideas, many things I have to say. But there's also one video I already made about the US dollar and the fact that that's going down, causing us to pump a little bit. Maybe that will come out. It's not as important though. But I also have a few more things. If you're looking for a specific video though, just comment it down below. I'm right now in a mode where I read every single thing. 0 comments are stepping away from me, so do not worry. If I didn't respond though, it's because there's a lot. But there's no comment that goes unnoticed. Trust me, there's actually one more person I have as well that reads every single comment. And last but not least, I'll say, if you have some time, please go to my Twitter. And please help me out by sharing this post that I've made about my stream being taken down a few days ago. YouTube decided yesterday, actually, to take my stream down where I talked about Brad Garlinghouse's speech in front of the Banking Senate Committee. If you guys could just retweet it, that would be very much appreciated. Or you could just tag YouTube creators, Team YouTube, something like that. Would be very much appreciated. Any of you that can help. Again, you don't have to, but it might just help take the video back up, put the video back up. And if not, no worries. But I'm just asking anyway. No harm in asking. And if you want to stay notified whenever I upload on something else or do a video or stream, you might want to press that subscribe button. But that's about it. So you guys get another one. So peace out, guys. Thank you for stopping by.